Hey everybody, what is up? It's OCD Mikey, Hi-Fi Guy, for another edition of the Mikey Show. And I would like to cover something today that is something that I think is a subject that doesn't get talked about very much. What do you know? Leave it to me to talk about the weird stuff. But I think it's an interesting conversation, okay? And the topic is the ultra expensive hi-fi. I think in many ways, people go around hating the companies or hating the ultra high end. The overpriced stuff that people say. I'm guilty of that. And I have been guilty of that when I first started this channel. Because I don't know, for some reason I resented that stuff. And I don't know what it really was that made me resent it. Maybe I resented that it was for people that could afford things that I can't afford or that I couldn't afford, or, and so it's like player hating, right? And in what I wanted to get across is that, to let it go. If you're holding these things, and the reason that caused this is some of my viewers have sent me a couple of videos to look at where people are just capping on expensive stuff, kind of like what I used to do maybe when I first started my channels. Now, I guess my point was that you can't buy into good sound, because a lot of times people will be told, hey, if you buy this ultra expensive stuff, it's going to sound, that's the best sounding stuff. That was where my point of contention was, and still is to let people know you can't buy good sound, right? I mean, you can spend $1 million and it can still sound like ass. What I didn't consider is that some people don't care about how it sounds. This is a completely foreign concept to me because I can't wrap my head around it, okay? Like, why would anybody, and this has come about, I spoke with a dealer, there's a uber high-end seller of hi-fi that I know and trust. And I asked them, I said, how can you sell? There was a certain product of a certain brand that is so ridiculously priced that it just totally deserves, it's a whipping boy. It's a punching bag. It's like, it's sticking out there like a sore thumb. And the people that represent it here in the United States are just like, couldn't be more shisty, right? For lack of a better term. I said, how can you sell that? Like, don't you feel a responsibility to give your clients value? And this dealer said, absolutely not. Like, why would I? Why? Like, it was a completely foreign thought to them to need to offer value. And they used a term which I had never heard used before, which helped me to understand this. And they called this certain audio display audio, or display audio systems. And this dealer said to me, there are people out there that will buy $500,000 audio systems and they don't even use them. I couldn't believe it. But what it was said with all seriousness. And I realized there's a whole contingent of buyers that buy for display. It's just another cool thing to put in their house full of cool shit because they have the means to just only buy cool shit their whole freaking life. Okay, it's not you or me, most of us, but it doesn't mean it's invalid, okay? So to invalidate something, it is real that people will spend uber amounts of money and not care about sonic. They don't care about audio. It brings me back to a story where I remember 15 years ago, I was at CES in Las Vegas and I walked into the Boulder room. And if you haven't met the owner of Boulder, he's something to behold. And so I went into his room and I saw this giant amp. And I said, who buys this kind of thing? Because I was wet behind. I was young, man. well, shit, maybe it was more than 15 years ago now that I think about it. Nonetheless, I was exhibiting across the hall or down the hall, and I had Virastar cables in one of the rooms. And I came down there, I couldn't comprehend the size and the price and all that stuff of the Boulder stuff. And I said, who buys this stuff? He said, nobody that cares about audio. And I thought, what a smug response. Like, what an ass, what an arrogant ass for saying that. Like, he's just saying that show-offs buy this stuff. What I didn't realize at the time was how real that statement was. I thought he was being a smartass and just being a dick or whatever, right? But this guy was being straight freaking honest to me. And I realized many years later, not only does he understand that those people buy his stuff, but he designs for them. He designs for the display buyer, somebody that wants an opulent outcropping of egoic expression, okay? That is a real buying reason, and I never understood it. And so for us to make fun of it, it's just stupid. The only reason we make fun of it is because we don't understand it. And over time, it started to sink in why Bugatti exists. Think of a Bugatti car. Think of a Pagani, for Christ's sake. Pagani exists for a reason. If you've ever seen an outcropping of egoic expression, look at Pagani, Paganni, Pagani car images, and look. The shift linkage is the most gorgeous. I'm talking about underneath the shift lever, where the arm reaches down in the knuckle and it goes to a shaft that goes back to the transmission. It's the most gorgeous thing, and this is a mechanical thing. Normally in every car, it's covered by the tunnel, and you don't even see these parts because they're ugly, just mechanical arms and shit like that, right? But in a Pagani, it's highly polished metal with beautiful titanium bolts and stuff like that. And so there are companies out there that create products for people that have the means that are not mainstream people. This is why they call it exclusive, because you and I are excluded from owning it because we can't afford it. And maybe even if we could, we don't want to be show-offs. Maybe we have some constraint. We like understated elegance, which is more my style, than opulent outcropping of display of wealth. But some people are into display of wealth, and it's very real. So these products, and I don't rep those kind of products. I don't sell those kind of opulent outcropping because it's not my vibration, okay? But I think we should have a level of acceptance and understanding of what it is, and not try and make it real, okay? Because what I find people doing, oh, can you believe how much that is? I can't believe, look at it's made out of this and it's made out of that and that doesn't cost. It's like, why are you trying to reason it? Why are you trying to find value in it? It's not about value at all. In fact, the more expensive and the less intrinsic real value it has, the better it is for that buyer. Because the less chance there is of anybody else buying it, and that's what they're into. So it's a really wild part of it's actually across. I mean, we could look at every industry. Bugatti, Pagani. Pagani is the perfect example in a car. Look at a Pagani, and that is what ultra high end is. Look at what is a watch. I don't know watches well enough. I would say Patek, but that has class. So what would be opulent? What's that guy's name? Frank Mueller, maybe, or something like that, where it's like super opulent, like total display of I'm a rich mofo. Almost every industry has something like clothing, Versace maybe, or something where it's just opulent. It's overdone. It's like, and some people could say tasteless, whatever. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is, why would we slam that when these are just designers that have an open checkbook? Their client base gives them an open checkbook and says, create something that is so far beyond anything else that nobody else can afford it or nobody else will have it. It's just like buying an art piece. Do you want, okay, if I'm going to buy an art piece for my house, do I want a original or do I want something that comes from IKEA where there's 500,000 of those sculptures that are meaningless and they're $24 made in China? You know, or do I want an actual handmade sculpture? Personally, I'd rather have an amateur sculpture that's an original than, you know, a famous artist where it's a copy, right? A reproduction. And so it's an interesting conversation, but what I'm trying to describe is when I see people trying to make rationale for the ultra high end, there is no rationale for it. Okay? There is no value in it. There is no rationale. It is complete fantasy. Okay? Which many people may have a hard time understanding. Fantasy is very real. Okay? That's a funny statement. We can make a t-shirt. That's a great t-shirt. Fantasy is very real. I love that. I love that. Because it's true. It is a real freaking thing. Let's be honest. Okay, shall we? Reality sucks, okay? Fantasy is far more fun. It's far more enjoyable. So if we can afford to live in fantasy, why wouldn't we? Okay? This is a whole philosophical question, right? That we could go down and discuss. A lot of people, oh, it needs to be real. It needs to sound like real. Well, real is sometimes no fun, right? So what I want to do is open the discussion, you know, tell me what you think in the comments below, is to open the discussion about acceptance of things that we don't understand, okay? Because I think this is a good practice for us across the board, in society as a whole. Acceptance for things that we don't understand. We don't get it. It's not within our realm of understanding. So therefore, we hate on it, which that's not healthy. There's nothing healthy about that, okay? High-end, the uber retarded, expensive, overpriced audio is just art. And art has no value. Art has whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. You know, do we look at a Picasso and say, well, it's only, you know, back when he painted it, those were $2 tubes of, or 50-cent tubes of oil paint and, you know, $3 canvas, but the Picasso's worth $1.5 million. So you have to understand there is no intrinsic, you can't calculate, and you shouldn't try to calculate. It's futile to try and calculate ultra high end and to make it make sense to you, because it's not going to make sense, and it doesn't intend to make sense. The whole reason for creating that is to be non-sense making, right? It's to push the envelope of what's possible in this physical world. It's an outcropping of expression. How far can we push it? So, dare I say we should applaud it? See if you can stomach that. Maybe we should applaud those companies for pushing the envelope, for showing us what's possible, for being willing to put so much money into something so ridiculous, right? As an audio system. It's just a freaking audio system. You've heard me say that. It's just a freaking audio system. When I say it's just a freaking audio system, I'm talking about don't give it more importance in your heart. Some people give it so much importance that they'll fight over it, you know? It's like, dude, it's just an audio system. Relax, you know? So what I'm trying to do is find acceptance where there hasn't been any. And I'm the first guy to tell you, because I didn't accept it at first. I really had zero acceptance for the overpriced ridiculousness, right? But over time and through talking with people that I respect, it's not what I want, okay, that overpriced stuff. It's not what I want. It's not what I sell. But it doesn't mean that it's invalid. It is very much valid. And in fact, it's pretty cool to see that people are doing that. It means that people kind of really take this thing serious. If nobody did that, I mean, audio isn't that serious of a thing because no one takes it that far. So anyways, food for thought, interesting thing to think about, interesting discussion. So put in the comments below, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it, and I will see you guys later. See you.